What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 211, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, plus the downfall of Ubisoft continues. We got all that and more, but before we get to it, got to introduce my co-host, coming in hot from that traffic jam, JamPackSam. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I was putting in the traffic jam in JamPackSam right there. Yeah, it
Oh
was
yeah, I didn't even mean to do that. I just
it
was
was
saying
solid.
words,
Yeah. No, I mean it is the we were just talking before the show. It's the time of the year where everything is super busy and you're like prepping for holiday parties and activities and like I need wrapping paper and stuff, and then like you're just running all over the place. So I shout out to my fiance for feeding me Chick-fil-A French fries on the way home while I was hitting red lights nonstop. So now we're here, nourished, ready to go, feeling good.
Just one of those hit me. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was one of those things where it's like you might lose a finger. I don't know what to tell you. We'll see what the next red light brings, but I'm happy to be here. We made it.
Uh, the holidays are interesting because it is one of those things is I'll constantly be like, oh, can you pick this up on the way home? Can you pick this up on the way
Yeah.
home? And last year it was like, hey, we're out of wrapping paper. Can you grab this? I'm like, no problem. I'll stop. I'll get some wrapping paper. I walk into the store. It's like a plethora of choices, right? The whole bins are all there. I just grab whatever the first thing I see. I'm like, what does it matter? I get home. Literally, I grabbed wrapping paper that was just black Santas. The entire and my fiance was like, "Why did you get this?" I was like, "I genuinely didn't mean to do
That's
this, but
solid.
it's hilarious."
Yeah, that is very solid. I will say I went to Target and it was very dystopian where it's clear they're getting ready to put in like the champagne and the fireworks, and it's like we're already on New Year's, maybe even Valentine's Day, depending on which one you go to. And there was no music playing. So it's like if you want holiday joy between Thanksgiving and December 1st, otherwise we're just getting ready for Valentine's Day. So it was very kind of depressing, low key, but they had a good deal on wrapping paper. Spent
I say all
$7
the
and got like
time, these
yeah,
stores, they jump the gun. All
they
right, they need
do.
to slow down.
I agree. I feel like anything up until December 24th, you inject me with holiday cheer. I want it literally shoved down my throat. Like anything you got, just make it to feel as holiday as possible because otherwise it's just not. It doesn't feel like Christmas anymore.
Then December 26th, tear it all down. All right, I want you
December
in there
26th,
early.
take it down, go all in on, I guess, New Year's or whatever you want, diet pills, Ozempic, whatever they got going for holidays.
They that one corner of the store that's always holiday theme, Ozempic.
Yeah, it's the back right corner of Target. Always a good time.
All right, everyone. Well, why don't we jump into some housekeeping and get the show on the road? This is Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast. We are normally live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/Save the Game Media, but this Thursday is the Game Awards. So instead of this podcast, you can join us live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our live reaction to the Game Awards. Sam will not be there. He has something else going on, but other members of Save the Game Media will be joining me as we react to all the game announcements, all the award winners. Have a good time with us. But if you want this show, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to all your podcast feeds and get it everywhere. It does help us when you do those things. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to Save the Game Media content and exclusive bonus content, head over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tiers right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, David Harright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silkenit, Woods Parker III, Chad, and Rick Davis. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I see a lot of you hanging out with us in the chat here. Shout out Silkenit. Shout out Luke and Logan. Nissa Howard's in the chat. Appreciate everyone turning up for this Tuesday episode. But without further ado, Sam, we did not have an episode last week because I was sick in bed with the flu. I still have the occasional cough and recovering. But we've had some time. I want to know what you've spent the last 2 weeks playing.
Yeah, I have. The last 2 weeks is a bit of a stretch, but I have spent at least a solid week with Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I know we've been talking about this, where I just haven't had the time to get around to it because Call of Duty has had its grips in me. But I finally put down my foot, and I'm on that kind of kick where it's like I want to finish something before I move on to the next thing. Not that I'm trying to work through my whole backlog, but like I need to complete a game before I jump into the next thing. So I am hanging off of Indy for now, and I'm probably going to get to it maybe this weekend. But I want to roll credits on Dragon Age, so I've played about 25-ish hours of Dragon Age.
Right.
I'm on part 10, so I'm getting deeply into the story.
Hold up.
Yeah.
You're on part 10
Yeah, I'm on part 10
in 25 hours.
in 25 hours.
That is some Kevin pace right there, right? Everyone can't come at me anymore. He's with me. Are you skipping all the cutscenes? That's what they accuse me of doing here.
I'm not skipping the cutscenes, but I am not doing any side quests. Like
Oh,
I'll
okay.
pick one up occasionally if I
I
run
did the
into it.
side quests.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what I want to do. Like, so right now I'm romancing Harding. Like that's the route that I'm
Ooh,
going. And,
interesting choice.
yeah, and so
Can't say I respect it, but you know.
I mean, it is what it is. But I've been romancing Harding, and so I've been trying to go down the like, hey, if I go on a side quest with her, do I have that romance option? So like, we had our little date. So like, I'm continually getting further and further down that. But that's really just me wanting the kind of like BioWare RPG experience of like,
Absolutely.
I'm doing side quests to do a romance thing, and then I'm getting my fill. But I'm really enjoying it. I will say I love the gameplay. Like now we talked last week about how I feel like the UI is overwhelming and there's like a ton of stuff going on, but the more that you get into it, the more that it kind of feels right. And I really, really enjoy the way the combat feels. Writing, oh man, these lines, the writing is like, and it's not even like the story. I want to make that clear. Like the story is fine. It's just the delivery and the lines, and I could critique that all night. So it is definitely a game that has a lot of room for improvement there. But as far as a game, like the combat and the way that it kind of leads you along and the level design, I really enjoy what they did here. So I'm having a good time.
That's awesome. I didn't romance Harding. I romanced Balara in mine.
Okay. Yep.
Harding was never at the. I'm gonna be honest, Sam. I hate Harding. She is
See, I
my.
hate Balara, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Different taste, different taste. Yeah. I will say her side quests really good. I did enjoy. Like every time I went on one of her like main, her dwarf quests, I'll call them. I thought that was really good. So that's an enjoyable time. What did you say? What class you're playing as?
I am playing Rogue, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I played Warrior. Are you doing a necrotic build? Because the
I
necrotic
am.
builds are broken as
I
hell.
am doing a
Yeah.
necrotic build, and I'm not really like going. I didn't look up a build guide or anything, but
Me
I'm
either.
just kind of
Yeah.
like working through and figuring out what deals the most damage and what makes the most sense. I love the combo abilities for your companions, by the way, where it's like two things go together and deliver a killer attack. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Did you? So you know how you have the shopkeeper guy, whatever you want to call him, in the action like the.
Yeah, the little merchant dude in the middle of the hub
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Yeah,
When you walk out of the hub world, did you know you can upgrade like your abilities and stuff there?
I did not. No.
I beat the whole game and I saw a post. It's like, oh, you can upgrade your abilities here too. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, I knew you could like upgrade armor, enchant armor, like
Yeah.
you could do all this stuff. And it's like, no, you can upgrade a bit. I'm like, when does that lock?
I haven't. Well, I guess maybe you have to level him up to a certain level because
Maybe.
you've got to put time into like leveling up his merchant level or whatever, and then he can do more stuff the same way you unlock enchantments. I'm on I want to say I'm about to do the third upgrade on him.
Oh wow, yeah,
Um,
I got to level 8, I think, with him.
Okay, yeah. See, I have been kind of like just wanting to get through the main quest, and then I'll go back through and see if I want to spend more time with it. But yeah, I'm dabbling my toe into a little bit of everything with it. So it's been fun to kind of lock in and play one game and just know that when I sit down at night to play a game, it's not like I'm picking Marvel Rivals or Call of Duty or Battlefield or Halo and like doing the live service thing. Like I have a narrative I'm working through, so feels good to get back to the roots a little bit.
Yeah, so you're almost at the point of no return.
Yes.
So you will be like, and you are at the best part of the game too. Let me tell you, if you're not like, once you finish the Harding romance or whatever, like once you get into it, oh man, you got the end game of Dragon Age going on here. Although to be fair, if you're not doing everyone's side quests, I'll be interested to know like how your stuff turns out in the end.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I do want to go back and play through it because I think the characters are interesting. Like I like the necromancer dude, and I think that the guy with the griffins, I forget their names, but like there are some interesting
Davrin,
backstories here.
his name was.
Yeah, is it Davrin?
Darvin,
I think it's
Davin. Yeah,
Davrin.
it's dumb. It is.
I think Davrin's the Griffin guy, but I like the way they've kind of set things up, and I think the combat is what will keep me coming back because it really is. Like whenever let me tell you, I had a moment where I was like, "There's parrying in this game, right?" Because I was like, I was probably part 2, part 3, or whatever, and I was just like hacking and slashing my way through it, and then I figured out the parrying, and I'm like, oh. oh, this feels nice, because it's just like that little slow motion effect. Like it just has a really satisfying feel to it. So I've been really enjoying that. I like the yellow flash and like the kind of like matching game they've kind of integrated in, like any kind of game like this does. But yeah, a lot of fun in the combat. Really, really impressed with the combat.
Yeah, the combat grew on me, like, as I think I told you, like, once you get past the 8-hour mark and you start unlocking, like, more of your skill tree and building
Yeah.
out things, like, it really does become a lot of fun. I did stick with, like, the same combo for, like, the last 15 hours, like, "Alright, I do this move, and then
Yeah.
Valara and Nev do this move, and they blow up," and I'm like, "Let's go."
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it, where I've hit a point where like I have to bring myself out of the rhythm of like I found that I do Harding and then Davrin and then I've got my things, and so those pair well together, and I've got the activator and the detonator, and like you have all these things that kind of get rhythmic with it. But then I'm like, well, what's Necromancer guy got? And then
Mm.
Balara, what's she like? And so I kind of have to take myself out of it and then try different builds and stuff. And then I've got like a super underlevel companion over here, and it's just like there's a lot of there, a lot of stuff there
Yeah,
that
I
yeah.
stuck with the same too the majority of the game,
Yeah, I
so
think I
I
would
didn't really
imagine most
notice.
people would, because I can't not take my girlfriend along with Harding, and then
Exactly,
I yeah, you get yeah,
exactly!
like you and Balara. Like I know you had Balara the entire time. Yep.
I did, in fact. Last question about Dragon Age. Who did you make mad at you in the one chapter where you had the
Neve. I chose to destroy Neve's
Oh,
town, and then I went with
really?
yeah, I went with Homeboy, and I wanted to save him because he felt like he had more pull, like he felt like he'd be able to help me more later, and it turns out I was right. Homeboy helped me, so you know, it was a good choice.
I didn't like Lucanus, and I thought his town was garbage, so
I mean, from the beginning, I don't think the vibe Neve was giving off just didn't feel like we were really working.
she's a
So I was
little
like,
uptight, she's a
yeah,
little
you know
uptight, you
what?
know?
Destroy your town. What do I care? Do your
Mm.
thing. It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
me.
Air quotes there, by the way. Air destroy yeah, okay, yeah, alright. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying Dragon Age. I'm really excited to see how it turns out. Let me know
Yeah.
exactly. Silken it says you're doing the same playthrough as him.
It's very interesting. I mean, this has been a really fun one for me because this is my first real BioWare game that I've played. So I'm going in blind in a way. And it's been fun to not look any builds up or see gameplay or like even the controversies around it. I haven't kept up with it. So I'm just like, hey, new Dragon Age game. And it's been fun to kind of go in without any kind of unconscious bias or anything like that leading into it. So that's nice.
Well, if you like this game, do I have a trilogy to sell you? All right. It's called
It
Mass Effect
Mass
Legendary
Effect, yeah.
Edition.
Well, it's
It's
funny
on.
because now that I'm playing a ton of Dragon Age, and so it popped up as a recommendation on Game Pass because it's with EA Play,
Mhm,
and I'm like,
mhm.
maybe.
I say do it. You know, the first one's more RPG, but the second, I think you get into it. It has good dialogue, good characters.
Yeah, I've
Be a
played
good
the
time.
first hour of Mass Effect 1 probably 5 times, and that's as much Mass Effect as
Yeah.
I've really got. Maybe a little bit of 2, but like not to any depth.
Mhm, mhm.
But what have you
Uh,
been playing? What you been up to?
Yeah, so I've been playing quite a bit. I'll start with probably the shortest game on the list, and one I do have a review up for now on the channel. If you can go check that out, I was given a code for this game, so shout out to Lily Mo Games who gave me a code for Tribreaker, a Sacred
Hmm.
Symbols Odyssey. For those who don't know, uh, Sacred Symbols obviously is the PlayStation podcast over at Last Stand Media, and this is Lily Mo, Colin Moriarty, and Barry Johnson's studio. So this is a brick breaker at the core. It's an arcade game. It is about 3-ish hours long, a weekend game as they like to call it. I beat it. I think it's okay. I wasn't head over heels with it, and that's mainly like one, I don't know if brick breakers just aren't my thing, but also two, I don't think it controls very well.
Hmm.
So the whole premise of this is instead of like one paddle, like you bounce the ball off of and break all the little blocks, you have two, and you control one with each joystick.
Yeah.
And then you also in this one they added a you can control the ball. So Dustin, their new third co-host for the last few years, they put him in this game as opposed to the original Twin Breaker, which was just Colin and Chris. And now Dustin's the ball. You can move him around with the bumpers, but I think it doesn't feel good if you're moving real. Like once you get up to speed, moving him is basically impossible. And some like boss fights trying to get him into like a certain little location, really frustrating. There are levels that aren't brick breaking. Like there's one inspired by Frogger. There's one inspired
Oh,
by
that's cool.
Pac-Man. And I was like, these levels are awesome. Like I would have enjoyed an entire game of just like, hey, homage Overwatch to classic arcade games, those were my favorite levels. So if you're into, I think it's like $10. So if you're looking for a few hours of decent arcade fun with a lot of replayability, I do recommend it there. But if it's not, like, if that doesn't sound up your alley, yeah, probably not for you.
Yeah, I think I played Twin Breaker back in the day, and I know that I reviewed Habroxia too. I got a review code for that, and I liked Habroxia because I like that kind of game. But Twin Breaker was always an interesting one to me because I love Breakout. Like back in the day, playing Breakout on my Game Boy, big fan of Breakout. So I have to give that one a shot. The whole I get the whole try breaker idea of like, now you've got the ball. That's the third aspect of it. But I'm like, it feels like a lot. Like the simplicity of Brick Breaker is what I like about Brick Breaker. Is like just make it's Pong, but just me. So like I like that. So I might give it a shot one time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, I think I said that in my review. It felt overwhelming, like so much to focus on when I'm
Yeah.
like trying to move and then control the ball. It's a bit much. And I see Rick says I don't think Limo's games are all that great. I haven't played many of them. I've only played Super Perils of Baking before this, which I also reviewed. Was given a code for that, and I enjoyed that 2D platformer. But like I haven't checked out Habroxia or any of those, which I think Luke played those and liked, and you said you liked those ones, so maybe
Yeah.
those ones are better.
Yeah, Habroxia is a very good game. If I remember correctly, it's been years, but I feel like that plays kind of like a twin stick shooter almost. So it's got that kind of feel to it. If I remember correctly, it's been, like I said, years. But I remember enjoying it. So and to the point of Lilimo games, it's kind of like I forget what the name of the guy that makes them is, but they're very simplistic, like almost puzzle rhythm games that are big. They were big on the Vita. I don't know they're still big on Steam, but they're very simple, arcade kind of games. That's why they're $10, $15, whatever they might be. So there's definitely a niche for them. And I think this kind of game, I feel, is what really thrives whenever you're thinking about cloud gaming and like playing on Steam Deck or things like
I
that. Like
played on my ROG Ally when I was sick in
yeah,
bed, and I was like,
yeah.
"This is exactly like the perfect situation for this."
Right. Like, and I love that the little arcade games exist like that. And more of them are kind of cropping up in the indie space like Lilimo and others that are making them because of the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and cloud gaming and whatnot. So, yeah, more of them. They're not for everybody, but they're definitely for people for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Next game I want to talk about, and I'll save the main for our first story because we'll talk about it. But Marvel Rivals.
Yes,
Yeah, you might have seen me posted about this over on
I
Blue
did.
Sky. So I have played approximately 30 to 40 games of Marvel Rivals. It's I don't know, 5-6 hours, maybe more. And I gotta say, I don't understand what everyone is talking about with this. I don't get it. It's exactly how I felt about Overwatch, where I played Overwatch and I was like, "Oh my god, this game's so good." And I'm like, "What am I missing?" I think Marvel Rivals feels very clunky to play. None of the characters' movement feels very good. It's an explosion of colors and like impossible to tell what's going on half the time. And even when I do well, like I've had games where I'm like, "Oh, I went 34-0 as Iron Man." All I do is like I'm up in the sky and I'm just holding down triggers and occasionally hitting the face buttons for other moves. And I'm like, this is just because like they're not looking up at me or they're choosing the wrong character. Like Iron Man is very easy. Like choose a Punisher or Winter Soldier, or anyone with a
Yeah.
gun, and he melts. It's just very confusing all the praise I'm seeing when I'm like, okay, what's the progression system like? Can I unlock some skins by playing more? And they're like, no, no, no. You gotta buy it. You gotta buy the premium battle pass, and then you gotta get the currency and unlock in the premium battle pass to get the skins. Otherwise, you just get these crappy cosmetics. I'm like, okay, so there's no incentive for me to only play as a free to play player. I,
Mm.
I'm not getting it, man. I have the exact same issues I have with Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. I feel this game is hard carried by the Marvel IP here because I do think it, I'm not like overly in love with the art style, but in terms of like the looks of most of the characters, except Wolverine, they butchered. I don't know what they're doing to my boy Wolverine, but Iron Man, like he sounds pretty good. The voice acting is pretty good. The banter between characters is phenomenal. Like the maps look really good. I think I'm not a fan of some of their layouts, but they've really nailed the Marvel aesthetic. I just don't think the game is an actually good game.
Interesting. Yeah, I have not spent time with it. I've watched a good bit of it just because I've been busy this week, and like I said, I want to play Veilguard, so I'm like dialed in on finishing that. But the content and coverage that I've seen around it, I think the allure here partially is due to the Marvel IP. Like obviously, everybody's excited about any kind of Marvel game. Kind of reminds me of Marvel Snap a couple of years ago, whenever Snap dropped, and like everybody was obsessed with it. Which it is a good game, but it's like
Agreed.
if you played a card game on the go, you played a card game on the go. It's
Mm-hmm.
anything kind of feels the same. Um, I think that Overwatch fans are so starved for a good experience that it's like anything that's almost there is what you need to go to. And I saw a Steam review that was talking about it, and somebody said that it's not as good as Overwatch was, but it's better than Overwatch is, and that's like a really good compartmentalization of this whole thing of like, yes, it has issues, but man, this is like a really good hero shooter that I haven't really felt since the glory days of Overwatch 1. So going into that, as somebody who's spent probably 150, 200 hours with the OG Overwatch, where it was like fresh, felt good. I'm excited to check this out. This might slot in as like my Call of Duty replacement for a while. Now, there's a double XP coming, Kev. Let me tell you. And we're going back to Nuketown Holiday for another round of Call of Duty, but Marvel Rivals is probably going to give mixed in. So I'll be playing more of it. But I think people just want a good hero shooter, and Overwatch has not been scratching that itch lately. So
We had two good hero shooters. Y'all let them die. R.I.P. Concord and Battleborn.
yeah, well, like I said on Blue Sky, based on prior experience and your taste in games, it seems like that we are going to have a long and thriving life for Marvel Rivals. It's going
I
to be around
have
for 10 years.
no doubt that this game is going to be a massive success.
Yep.
It's because I don't like it. And that's the truth. So
Yeah.
that's my take on Marvel Rivals. If you like it, I'm happy for you. I'm just not getting that. I'm not with you. Luckily, I have another game that I'll talk about in a minute that I might be there with some people. So why don't we jump into the actual news, Sam? First up, and we'll talk. I don't know why I spelt that totally wrong. Like, if anybody's seeing what's scroll around the bottom, that is not how you spell that word.
Reviews, yes, the
Reviews.
good old Indiana Jones reviews.
Yes. So story number one, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle review roundup. Xbox's last big game for 2024 has arrived. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is now available for everyone, and it's been very well received. Currently sitting at an 86 on OpenCritic. MachineGames have crafted a critical success. Catherine Castle over at Eurogamer gave the game a 5 out of 5, stating it's smart, fun, and so very Indiana Jones. The Great Circle is a stealth action tour de force that marks a bold new era for MachineGames. Jordan Midler at VGC also gave it a 5 out of 5, stating, "We had a smile on our face from beginning to end while playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. As close as games can come to a genuine old-fashioned Hollywood blockbuster. It's also an incredibly rich adventure game stuffed to the gills with the secrets to find." While Azario Lopez at Noisy Pixel gave it a 7 out of 10, stating, "Indiana Jones and the Great Circle captures a spirit of adventure with nostalgic puzzles, richly detailed environments, and thrilling set pieces, while it stumbles with lackluster AI and clunky item management. Its charm and sense of discovery make it a rewarding adventure for fans of the iconic archaeologist." Sam, you have not played Indiana Jones yet.
I have not.
I have played a lot of Indiana Jones. I just finished the second main open-ish area. And I am now progressing. I'm in a more linear section right now. And I gotta say, I know we talked about, I think for the last month or so, where we're like, what's your hype level for Indy? We're like, it's
Yeah.
where's a super high, hoping it hit. It's exceeded every expectation I've had, man. I am adoring Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And that's not to say it's perfect. I do think some of these reviews, especially Noisy Pixel, where they call out the lackluster AI, some of the AI, they're brain dead idiots. Some of them are pretty good. I'm like, they're spotting me from way over there. The other ones, I'm just like, I'm behind a tiny pillar, like most of my body sticking out, and they're like looking at me. They're like, "Oh, no one's there." That said, it's giving me that stealth game itch that I didn't like. That's what I was missing right now. Like games weren't hitting, and then I picked this up. I was like, "Oh, this is what I've been looking for." Because the sense of just grabbing random items and sneaking up behind people and doing execution kills, or my favorite is when they're near an edge, and then I just walk up and I push them
Oh
off
yeah.
of it, and then they fall down. Like, so funny every time. Like, I'm just having a blast. Like, some of the mechanics in this game are interesting because, like, I don't think straight up combat feels super good. A lot of it is me just like mashing the trigger button, like, oh, just keep swinging Indy until they go down, or like with your weapon, or punch them in the face or whatever. There is a counter and parry system, which I think works well enough at times, but the charm of this game really is in the adventuring in the world, seeing what everyone is has going on, because it does feel very alive. Like, there's like Nazis and fascists everywhere. You have to kind of get disguises to like walk around in the world, otherwise they're constantly going to be on you, and if you try to fight your way out, you're probably going to end up dead at a certain point. So
Mm.
it's really just, it's hitting. I'm not even an Indiana Jones guy. I'm liking the cutscenes. I think Troy Baker's doing a phenomenal job. It's fun. It's entertaining. It it's really good.
Yeah, I've heard really good things, obviously the reviews, but also just word of mouth from the community. And I think it's really interesting. So I have a question. We talked about like leading up to it. I wasn't super, but like, not that I wasn't excited about it, but the hype level, like it's not like I've got like a brand
Mhm.
new Xbox game coming out level hype. My prediction was that it would be kind of like a modern day Tomb Raider feel. Does it have that, or is it something that's just totally different, more of like Dishonored, Indiana Jones, or somewhere in between?
So I haven't played Dishonored, and I'm waiting for Kyle to check it out because he loves Dishonored, and I want to get his like comparison to Indie. I don't think it's Uncharted. I I don't think it's even Tomb Raider. It is, how do I put this? It's like basic puzzle solving most of the time when you're in tombs.
Mhm.
Like, there was one room I was just in where you have to shine lights on symbols to open doors, and it's like, oh, you if you just go to the corridors and like run down the only two side doors you can go to, you'll
Yeah.
solve the puzzle almost instantly. Like, it's really not complicated. There are some things they try to make complicated, but you have this camera you can pull out and it'll just give you hints like, oh, do this here, and like, I feel like the puzzles almost solve themselves sometimes. It's almost more just about the experience of being in the tomb, and like the boulder rolling after you, or the tomb crumbling around you at certain points. Like, it's more of an adventure like that than would say like actually difficult puzzles.
Yeah, interesting. I'm cool with that. I mean, that was one of my concerns, honestly, going into it is that, like, I feel like sometimes, even thinking back to Uncharted, now keep in mind, I was a simple 12 to 13-year-old at this time. But like some of those puzzles would derail the game a little bit, where it's like I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to make these puzzles work for 15 minutes, something, upwards of that, occasionally looking up a YouTube guide. And so I think not having the puzzles hold back the gameplay is good. And I like what they've done with it in terms of how you describe it anyway, of the combat not being the central focus, like running and gunning. I mean, that was the big thing going into it as a MachineGames game. There was this expectation when we had first heard about it of like, am I going to be shooting Nazis like Wolfenstein, but as Harrison
Yeah.
Ford, or what's that look like? And so I think that it's good that they're pushing themselves as a studio creatively in a new direction, but it also delivers something that's authentic and not just saying, hey, Indiana Jones hated Nazis. Now he hates Nazis like BJ Blazkowicz, and he's got
Mhm.
dual wielding revolvers running and gunning. Not that that would have ever been the thing, but it feels like a faithful adaptation from all of the reviews we've seen and the conversations we've had.
Yeah, using a gun is kind of a death sentence in this game, because you'll alert the entire camp because there's no way to keep them quiet.
Right.
I do enjoy like finding different ways to solve the situation. Like, there are times
Mm,
where, oh, you can find a little tunnel in the ground and come up underneath them, or you can find a zip line and go in through the roof, or sneak around through a crack in the wall on the side. Like, there are a bunch of different ways you can get in, so every time you're there it's like a different experience. um I will say one of my only real complaints is that if you do the side quests, I'll call them, they're called field work. They have cutscenes, they're like narrative rich actually. If you do those after the main story, they don't really make sense, because you have side characters
mm,
talk like, we've already had way past these conversations. So
Right.
I do recommend doing those as you get them before you like while you're in the area. There's only a few per area so far. I think it works better that way. I think it works narratively that way and structure wise.
Yeah, when it comes time for me to play this, which again might be this weekend, maybe next week, I have a lot of time off coming up for the holidays. So I'm really planning on pumping some games through there. Also building a new PC this weekend. So very excited
Ooh.
about that. We can talk more about that later on if you want. But this is one that I want to take my time with because I heard I had 4 hours of cutscenes, and I'm like, 4 hours of Troy Baker really dialing in on being basically the
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what incarnation, whatever of Harrison Ford. It's like I feel like this is very authentic to like what the movies looked like. So I definitely want to take my time with it and really see everything that this world has to offer. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Rick points out in the chat. Anyone else notice when you're in costume, say the priest, nobody cares you using a whip to climb scaffoldings? Yeah, there are definitely moments like that where I'm not in a restricted area. I'm just in like a normal public area, but the Nazis or the fascists are there, and I'm like, yeehaw, like swinging in and just landing in front of them. They're like, that's a completely normal thing for you to be doing.
Yeah, I saw a clip on I think it was Threads or something like that of Harrison Ford as a Indy as a priest zip lining down, and I'm like,
Yep.
interesting, authentic. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really enjoy it. Highly recommend it. We do have a few questions from the community. If you want to write in, you can either tweet at us on Twitter, Blue Sky, or join the Discord. Link is down below. Ghostly Guides wrote in, says, do you see more Indiana Jones games being developed or a push to use more established IP for movies or books as games by Xbox? So, Sam, I know you haven't played it yet, but do you think this is the beginning of a franchise?
I don't think so. I think this is a reflection of Xbox giving studios freedom to do what they want and being able to pitch an idea and have some reception to it, because this is the game that Todd Howard had always really wanted to make happen, right? And so he was really leading a lot of the making this game a reality. And I think if anything, I don't know that it leads to more IP. I don't think that it necessarily doesn't either, because if this game is a success, then obviously more people are going to want to make a game their thing. But I think that it's going to be a good example of what it looks like to do it right, where somebody has a good idea that they've wanted to do for a long time. Xbox lets them do it, and then that exists, and then they take it from there. So it could lead to one, but I don't think it's necessarily a reaction that you're going to get immediately. Like, I don't think this is going to green light the next Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, I want to see how the game ends, obviously. Like if it sets up a sequel, then maybe I'll feel differently. But I do feel like it's okay to have a one and done, one-off adventure because apparently this game takes like kind of fills in some of the gaps if you're a movie buff, like between the first one and the second one, I think. So there might be characters in here that like I'm missing some of that context, but for the most part, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I feel like this is a very self-contained adventure that I am enjoying. And if anything, it's made me interested. Like, should I go watch the Indiana Jones movies?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen the old Indiana Jones movies, that was one where, man, let me tell you, back in the day, mom would put in some Totino's hot pocket or pizza pocket
Pizza
things.
rolls,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had an old in the living room. We had a wood panel TV that was one of the ones that sits on the floor, like not a like
Yep,
it's
I
actually
had
a
one.
console
Yep.
TV. And so I would boot up Raiders of the Lost Ark on a Saturday morning, eat some pizza rolls, and yes, morning like 10:30, eating
Mhm.
pizza rolls, watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. So do that, live my childhood again, and enjoy.
I mean, I could go for some pizza rolls.
That's what I'm talking about.
That was not too bad.
That's what I'm talking about.
TPR writes in with our question in Indiana Jones. What's your favorite weapon that isn't a gun or your fists to hit enemies with? Are you team shovel? What other objects are in the game? Um, the shovel is satisfying. Obviously, Sam, you can't answer this question yet. The shovel is very satisfying. The sledgehammer, really satisfying,
Very cool.
especially when you get that execution animation. But I think my favorite is like the silly ones, like beating some up with a broomstick or like a plunger or something. Like
Yeah.
those are some good ones.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they've kind of integrated a lot of different weapons in. So I'll report back and I'll let you know what I think. Hopefully next week.
You know what's funny is when you have a gun and you don't want to use it as a gun, you can use it as a melee weapon. You just flip it over and they start beating people
Oh,
with
that's
the
sick.
yeah.
Yeah, I love a good pistol whip. Nothing like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not even a pistol whip, like a AK-47 just started beating
Oh,
them
you can
like a
literally beat them up
yeah,
with an
like a
assault
rifle.
rifle.
Like you
Oh,
just take a
okay, all right.
rifle and start whacking them.
I thought we were just pistol whipping people.
You can. There's a pistol. There's a pistol, but
Okay,
you
thank
can.
goodness.
You can just whack people.
Shout out to Rick in the chat. Temple of Doom was my favorite movie as a kid. Yes, Temple of Doom is sick. They have some really killer. Oh man, it's great.
All right. Why don't we jump into story number 2 here? Uh, and I named it "Rest in Peace, Ubisoft." They're not dead yet, but Ubisoft is in turmoil. Last week, Ubisoft announced that it would be officially discontinuing Sam's beloved X Defiant in 2025, blocking new purchases and registrations with immediate effect. Along with the game shutdown, Ubisoft is also closing its production studios in San Francisco and Osaka while laying off many in the Sydney office, with up to 277 employees losing their jobs. The day after this announcement, Reuters reports that shareholders are considering how to structure a possible buyout without reducing the founding family's control. The Guillemot family has been in talks with Tencent and others recently, according to sources. Sam, X Defiant. We've talked about it for months now. They lied straight to your face multiple times, said, "Hey, it's not shutting down," and now it is shutting down.
It is shutting down. Yeah, I feel bad because I really do think that Mark Rubin, the producer of the game that had worked on Call of Duty, and he was really kind of like the brain trust behind this thing, at least from the public perspective. I really think he believed this was not in danger. Like, I don't think it was meant to be a malicious way to mislead people, but it's a pretty bad look whenever it's clear the leadership wasn't telling him the full story as of the middle of October. And now here we are at the end of November when this announcement was made, I believe. Or maybe it was the beginning of December. I guess when did this break? Was it
It
end
was
of
like it
November?
was last week. It was the beginning of December. Yeah.
Yeah, so like less than 2 months basically between the hey, it's not shutting down, and then it's like, hey, actually. So it wasn't a great look overall. I think everybody saw the writing on the wall with this though, because they were talking about how they wish the player count was higher. They want to earn it back. And I made a couple of videos along the way of like, man, Black Ops 6 is out, and it's like the best Call of Duty in 10 years, and it's on Game Pass. And by the way, like there's 18 million free to play games that are out there struggling right now to get people to play. So I just don't think that in general it was released at the right time that it needed to really get the attention that it deserved, because I will stand behind it every day of the week. It was a good game. Like X Defiant was a very solid, competent Call of Duty shooter that felt like old school Call of Duty combined with something that had like abilities in it. So it was a unique idea that felt familiar. Um, but in such a crowded market and with so many headwinds that it was already having to kind of overcome, I think that it was kind of, unless it was something that had released directly after something like Call of Duty Vanguard, I just don't think that it really had that window. You know, it's
Mhm.
almost like landing that shot to blow up the Death Star. Like you had that one little half a millisecond to land the shot and really blow it up big, and they just missed the shot. So it is what it is, but it's a bummer to hear jobs getting cut and obviously studios getting shut down. But I mean, you know, we can talk about it more in depth, but Ubisoft's got a bloat problem. They've got too many games going on. And I feel like the last 10 years, they focused on doing a lot of stuff okay and not doing a select set of things really, really well. And so
Mhm.
I think this is an example of that, where like it's a competent shooter, but is it going to be able to outperform in terms of monetary value for the company? Something like Assassin's Creed, whenever they could just reallocate more budget towards that rather than trying to keep Xify going for the couple thousand people that played it on a monthly basis. So it's just the reality of business. I think it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I do think that Ubisoft has an issue, not just specifically with this game, but where they're chasing trends and it's not working out, and they're letting their quality dip to get quantity. And not the first person to say that, obviously, but like X Defiant, it's so hard to succeed in that space. And as you said, and I've heard other people say too, it's a good game,
Yeah.
but in a space where good isn't good enough, like what chance do you really have unless you're coming out with a 10 out of 10, like, oh my God, this is better than Call of Duty could ever hope to be? Like, you got to try to find ways to innovate in the space. And I know we talked about a few weeks ago, like there's a report that one of their studios is doing an Animal Crossing style game now. And it's like,
Right.
we gotta figure out like what is Ubisoft's vision that isn't just copying other studios. Like, get Assassin's Creed back on track. That's what they're trying to do. Like, bring Splinter Cell, get franchises that people want established. All right, we need to stop trying to chase trends. We need to stop with all this. It's not working out for them, and it's a shame because like I think they're probably gonna end up with Tencent. Like,
Yeah.
writing's on the wall. I don't think that's what anyone wants. I'm interested to know, like, if Tencent's cool with the Guillemot family being like, "No, we're still in control, all right? We'll sell to you, but we still get the decisions," because their decisions are leading them down this path, and it's not going well. Like, Star Wars Outlaws did not hit the heights that I think they expected and many others expected, so much that, like, they've been revamping the whole game. I'm really curious how what Ubisoft's future looks like, say, this time next year. Like, I would imagine they are not independent.
Yeah. I think that an acquisition is happening in 2025 or announced in 2025. And I think that the thing that I keep going back to that I've been wanting to make a video on or share some thoughts on is Yves' letter to the staff at Ubisoft after the XDefiant shutdown. And there's one section I'm going to read from here that says, over the past few weeks, I've had the chance to read the results of the Ubisoft XP 2024 survey. The vast majority of you participated. The response rate was over 86%, which this is like the company-wide survey of like, hey, how we doing? What's the vibe like out there? Um, and he says, and you've shared your questions and concerns about the future of Ubisoft via more than 55,000 comments. Okay, I know that this is a big company, but if you have 55,000 comments about
They don't even have
questions and
55,000 employees. What?
well, like if you have 55,000 comments across the entire company around the world asking questions and having concerns about the future of the company, that is a lot of feedback to get for a company even of this size. And then they also talk about how like the response whenever one of the outlets, I think IGN, reached out to them and they said that they're exploring all potential opportunities. And so basically, they said, "Hey, we're not denying that we're exploring some kind of buyout. What Ubisoft needs is strong leadership that is going to be able to say no to bad ideas. And I'm not saying that every idea is bad. There's good in every idea, but Skull and Bones should have axed that 10 years
Oh, I
ago. Like,
forgot that existed.
like that, and that's the problem, right? Is that they have so many of these projects that have had so much time and effort put behind them, but they should have been a no so much earlier. And I don't know if that's because Yves and the Guillemot family liked the ideas, or it was like something that was coming from the top, and they were like, you know what, keep it going, or maybe there's like I don't know what's happening. But they've got to dial it in. And you've got to make some executive decisions around. And it sounds like that's what they're doing. People really like Assassin's Creed. We're going to focus a lot on Assassin's Creed. Like you said, Splinter Cell, people have been begging for a Splinter Cell game for like 10 years at this point. I mean, it's been how long since Blacklist? Like 2015 or something like that?
I
Probably
want to say
longer back
before
than that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you have so many opportunities to do cool stuff because Ubisoft controls so many good IP that aren't Mario and Rabbids and Assassin's Creed and Rainbow. And even looking at something like Rainbow, that is such a opportunity that's left on the table. I mean, even shelving stuff like the Division Heartland, why cancel the Division Heartland and keep Skull and Bones going? I don't understand. Now, I've heard Skull and Bones could be doing okay. I don't know if anybody in the chat, I know Captain Logan knows more about it than I do for sure, but it just seems baffling to me that some of these projects exist and some of them have been canceled, and they just really have to dial in on figuring out what their strategy is to figure out how to right this ship. I think they can come back because they've got the IP that can make it happen.
Yeah.
But there's been so much mismanagement in getting to where they are now that it's just a shame that so many cool developers and projects have had to be the thing that suffers because of it.
Yeah, so Blacklist was 2013. I just looked it up. So over 10 years ago at this point. And just to emphasize how long 2024 felt to me, Skull and Bones came out this year,
It
and to
did.
me, that came out last year, like last February. I feel like we were talking about that game. Oh my god. Um,
And I want to call out Silkened. He says, I almost feared you're going to mention Beyond Good and Evil too.
oh my god.
And there was a report that came out that that thing is just being basically kicked around like a game of kickball inside the company of like people don't know what to do with it. And it has conflicting ideas from leadership of what they want the game to be. And that's the thing is that people have got to take ownership over, I don't know if it's IP or individualized games within these IP, but there's got to be a direction to the whole thing beyond like, hey, we want to make a game. Like,
Mhm.
hey, we want to make a Call of Duty killer. Okay, but like, why? Like, do you really think you can do something with it? And what are we going to do to support this beyond a year or whatever? I don't know, but yeah, there's got to be some change coming.
Yeah, uh, it's interesting because I feel like everyone but them knows how to fix their company, and they just refuse to listen to it because they're so stuck in this mindset of we know what's best. And like Unfortunately, I do think one of their big issues is they're way too big, and I know
Oh yeah.
nobody wants to hear that, but, like, they either need to sell some studios off or, like, downsize massively because their game budgets cannot continue to be this big. The development time cannot continue to be like that. Like, we need some change, Ubisoft. We need to stop with Beyond Good and Evil 2 because that's never coming out.
I mean, I think that it's also one of those things where you've got to create games that have this kind of like unique feel to them because there's a lot of sameness in the gaming industry today where you're talking about Marvel Rivals and how a lot of people are saying it feels like Overwatch. And I mean, even some of the alts are like, hey, isn't that Reaper? Like there's like
Oh
clear
yeah,
call out.
there
Yeah.
are alts that are just, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's this character.
Yeah, so it literally, and I mean, you know, not to call out the one that's the most controversial, but like Power World looks a lot like Pokemon, and you've got stuff like that that's floating around out
Oh,
there.
what's that new Lord's
Oh yeah,
light of
not
the
Horizon.
Horizon, the light of Mitriga, whatever they're
Yeah,
calling it? Like
that
that's
game's never coming out.
literally,
By the way,
you,
there's no
you
way.
don't think so? No.
No, no, that game's never coming out. Absolutely not. That's going to get canceled immediately.
I know the gameplay isn't like Horizon, but the cover art is straight up like you are just ripping off Horizon.
Yeah, I saw that game and I was like, "There's no way." But my whole point is that whenever I play something like the Crew Motorfest, I'm like, okay, so I'm playing Timu Forza, like
Forza.
that's effectively what I'm doing. Whenever I'm playing X Define or I'm playing Timu Call of Duty, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way. That's just the way that people think about these things.
Mhm.
They're not bad games, but they've just got to have something that has the unique identity that makes me know I'm getting something unique. And I think back to like playing Assassin's Creed for the first time. I'd never played anything like Assassin's Creed back in '07. So like being able to, or '08, whenever that came out, but being able to capture that and have something that's like authentic and unique and not just more of this sameness that Ubisoft puts out, that's what's going to bring them back in the gaming community. Because people are fleeting. They'll flip back whenever good
Mhm.
games start dropping.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
you've got to put out good games consistently to give people that reason to trust again. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and they have the history of making innovative games. So like we know they're capable of doing it. Like when I look back at the early, I don't even know, like the original Xbox for sure, but Xbox 360, I think of things like Ghost Recon, the old one, like those were
Yeah.
so good. And
Future
then
Soldier, killer, dude.
yeah,
Future
so
Soldier's great.
even
And
the
and I
first time
will
I saw the Division, right? Like I was like, "Oh, this is an
yeah.
innovative idea." Like I get it's a looter shooter, but the whole like extraction zone, and I get that didn't really blow up the way maybe we expected, but it was something different. It was something we hadn't seen before in like a console AAA game.
Yeah, no, The Division was a great example of innovation. And I do want to give them credit where credit's due. Like Star Wars Outlaws has its flaws, but it is something that doesn't feel like what they normally put out. Like, yeah, you know, you've got some of the elements that are pulled clearly from The Division, because I know this is the Division studio. But there is a unique idea there that's set in the Star Wars universe, and it needed more polish and it needed more. Like, if you reallocated some of the resources from other games, even if it wasn't the entirety of the resources, and put them into Outlaws, you probably could have had something that went a little bit above and beyond. Um, and I think they're trying to do new things with like Avatar and Star Wars. If they
Mm,
continue to get those opportunities, I don't know, because you know Outlaws didn't exactly blow up the way that they hoped it would. So they're making an effort, but unfortunately, it's just not enough. Like they've got to keep going a little bit more because otherwise, they're just going to keep falling behind the competition.
yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I doubt they're independent this time next year.
No.
Well, that is all the news we have for this week. It's the holiday period, and we have the Game Awards this Thursday. So hopefully, we'll have
Yeah.
tons of news coming from that to talk about next week. But why don't we jump into some listener questions to round out the show? We have two questions. First, Sam Heaney says, "With the Game Awards looming, does Xbox use the platform to announce a new port? Is it time for Starfield now that we're post Shattered Space? Does Hellblade 2 get the bump? Are the Forza rumors confirmed? Does Indiana Jones get its PS5 date, or do they stay quiet?"
Great questions all around. I did see a tease. Did you see the Xbox tease that they put out? I think it was on Instagram or something.
Was it that the
Like a shooting star kind of
yeah,
thing.
it's for Football Manager or FIFA.
Oh, well, that's completely disappointing. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's nothing. The hashtag is about like score more with Xbox, which is like a FIFA hashtag.
Oh, well, that's absolutely miserable. Well, anyways, I don't know if they'll announce anything port related here. I would not also not be shocked because wasn't it last
Gamescom.
year That was at the
Oh,
Gamescom they announced Indy coming to
Indie, yeah,
PS5.
Gamescom a few months
Yeah,
ago.
I remember Keeley being involved. So I'm like, is that December? Is that 2 months ago? Time is an enigma.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I see any kind of platform shifting in regards to their main games. I also don't put it past them. But it feels like it would be very odd for them to have such a big win as a console on Indiana Jones and then be like, hey, this is when you can buy it on PS5. But on the flip side, also killer marketing to be like, hey, you love this Indiana Jones game you're seeing a lot of right now. That's also coming out on PS5 in February. So I could see it going both ways.
Yeah, it has a spring date, so I'm expecting like March, April-ish for the PS5 version,
Mhm.
which I don't know if just giving the date would really like I don't know if that would create any sort of buzz. Although Troy Baker is confirmed for the Game Awards on Thursday. Like I
Mm.
just saw Jeff Keighley tweet that out. So I assume he gets some sort of like he'll talk about Indiana Jones for sure. They'll do some sort of push like, hey, it's available now. Maybe they do give the date there because of that. But in terms of like Xbox announcing something, I think the ports for this year are done. I think they wait until like maybe developer direct, maybe a little after that to confirm any ports for next year. I think that just it's going to be a quiet December in terms of Xbox announcements on that front. I do think they show up. I don't know what for, but I do think Xbox will be there.
Yeah, I wonder if I mean they teased the Xbox Series X. That's where they announced this, and I could see maybe a handheld tease, maybe.
Yeah, Phil's been
Um,
lying to us all a few years away.
I mean, I don't know. It is true. Yeah, Phil said it was a few years away. I just feel like there's got to be some kind of like, I don't know if it's a dedicated handheld or a partnership or something, but it feels like there's like a need for some kind of hardware collaboration or something. I don't know if it's a cloud gaming device like the Portal. Like if there was a Portal competitor or something, I could see them putting that out
Mhm.
because cloud feels like it's really kind of leaning in that direction. But I don't know. I'm just along for the ride. We'll see what they bring. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm I'm here for whatever. Whatever we got. Doom. Give me Doom's release date. That's what we
I
need.
I would love to see a Doom release date. I am curious because it does feel like that's something we should be hearing more about because that's going to be like that
Uh,
feels like a June, like May
I was
June
gonna say,
game,
do we
right?
have like a time frame besides 2025? For some reason, I had in my mind that it was like early 2025.
Release date. No, just 2025.
Okay, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's the end of 2025. But yeah, give me Doom. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Last question comes from Brandon, who says, "How about you guys do a gift guide for new Xbox Series X and S owners?" So we're not doing a full guide, but what do you think new Xbox Series X and S owners should be picking up this holiday season?
So I was actually talking about this in a video last week. Xbox sent over one of the new wireless headsets, which is basically identical to the old wireless headset. So I was checking that out, but the new one comes with Dolby Atmos. So if anybody is picking up a Xbox Series X or S, and you're willing to spend a little bit over $100 on picking up and upgrading your audio, I feel like the Xbox wireless headset is a really good option for like that entry level that gives you a little bit more than just plugging in a pair of headphones to the bottom of the controller. So if anybody is like looking for a starter kit, I don't really think you need like an elite controller or anything like that. But in terms of audio, that's really going to be the thing that takes you to the next level because it's got the built-in EQ. It's got, microphone's great. It just gets the job done and does everything you need it to do without any kind of hassle. And it comes straight from Xbox. So like there's no compatibility issue. So that's
Mhm.
like the one thing I would say you really should consider picking up and buying.
Um, all right, I'll give two answers. One of them is obvious. Game Pass is obviously the first one. Like try it out, see if it's for you. Try out the Xbox first party games if you're new to the Xbox ecosystem. The second one, hardware that I want to talk about. Get yourself one of them rechargeable battery packs.
Big one there. Yeah.
That's a must in my opinion. Whether you get one of the little stands, a rechargeable bat, like whatever you gotta do. I got one from the OG Xbox 360 or not 3, so the Xbox One that I bought at GameStop, still going strong. All right.
Yep.
You plug it in, good times.
Yeah, it's very solid. I love the little battery pack, not the thing that has the cover built in, but the actual like AA battery packs that are like two batteries glued together. Those are
Mm.
beautiful. So I recommend that as well. That's a must have for sure.
I did want to answer this. Rick Davis did put a question in the chat that I missed earlier. He said, "Do you think this is a good decision for Ubisoft in regards to ending X Defiant? The one thing they had going for them was people knew they'd stick with stuff even if they struggled. Now who knows?"
I mean, I think that on a public perspective, maybe they thought that, but at the same time, looking at all the cancellations over the past couple of years, I mean, I think about the Division Heartland, the Division Resurgence, I think is what it was called, like the mobile game and the free to play game.
I didn't even know
Um,
there was another. I knew about
oh yeah,
Heartland. I didn't know about that Resurgence.
oh yeah, and I mean the thing is that when you hear about stuff like Hardland, it had been in development for so long that there have been multiple play tests. Like I've talked to people that have played this game. Many people have talked to people that have played this game, and it's like you just didn't do that. And I think even looking at stuff like Hyperscape, like going back, I think that the high level stuff that you see might feel like with Rainbow or For Honor is probably a really good example of like them sticking with something that makes no sense from the like outsider looking in. But I do think For Honor is still doing really, really well for what it is so many years later. So I think that maybe that perception is changing a little bit just because they've canceled so many projects they had in the works and they've gotten no money from it. So it's a weird time for them.
I do think it's the right decision ultimately.
Yeah.
You can't keep a game alive just to keep it. If you're bleeding money. Like it is what it is. It's sad, especially for people that didn't enjoy it, but ultimately it's probably for the best. And I say that I played Concord for 2 weeks. Okay, so I'm all listen. They had it a lot longer than I did. Okay.
We did, yeah. Well, I finished an entire, I guess, master level prestige or whatever of X Defiant. So I put my time in. I earned my stripes.
Yeah, I only got half of the trophies in Concord before they took it from me.
Unfortunate.
Nissa Hauer actually has the last question. Put it in the chat. Says, "Are there any games from earlier in the year you feel should have been nominated for Game Awards?"
Tough question. Man, I don't even remember what I played this year. I got to go back to my Xbox app because the stuff
Uh,
just like piles up.
I will say I was pleasantly surprised at how many nominations Hellblade 2 actually got because it felt like everyone just forgot that game existed. So to see it
Yep.
actually get some recognition in categories, let me just scroll through here. I'm surprised Persona 3 Reload doesn't have more nominations. I will say that, even though I didn't particularly like it. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, I think that's one that probably should have been nominated for something.
Hmm.
Stellar Blade is also missing from the majority of categories I
It's a good
noticed.
call. Yeah.
Just scrolling through here.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the things that I played, and I feel like nothing that I played really warrants anything that's not included here. Like I spent a lot of time in Diablo 4. That was my top played game at the Xbox wrap, the recap thing. So I've been playing a lot of like ongoing games, but I think they kind of hit the highlights of again, best ongoing. I wouldn't really have any changes. I know that's probably a hot take, but yeah, I'm kind of satisfied with where they landed, even if it does feel like they're leaning into the expected instead of the exceptions.
The last one I want to call out is probably Visions of Mana. I do think that
Mm.
deserved probably a nomination in the RPG category. I just feel like that studio, for one, got hard done by shutting down the day their game came out. Absolutely ridiculous,
That's
but
pretty bad.
it's a good game. Like it's a very good game, and I don't feel like anyone cared about it at all.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Seeing like the call outs of Prince of Persia and Pacific Drive by Nissa in the chat, and Stellar Blade, like we've mentioned here. I think that the nominations, like I think the how do I say this? The categories that should have more variety are the more niche categories, like your RPG stuff, where it's like from the outside looking in. I know that this is all picked by like a panel of journalists from gaming, side of the world and professionals in that world. But you guys would know better than me about like what RPGs really deserve it, because I think there is that surface level kind of expectation, and then they kind of get deeper. So I'm sure there are things that I'm missing as well. So don't take my lack of anger and pitchforks as everything's fine and dandy here. I'm sure there's plenty to optimize and improve with the Game Awards nominations.
Yeah, my big issue is that some categories got 6 nominations, while others got 5, and I was like, "Who's making the rules for when we this is how many
Yeah.
you get?" And it all seems a little arbitrary to me. I would love Jeff to have here's a published rule for nominate, but his show, he can do what he wants. His
Yeah.
panel can do what he wants. I'm just here to have fun, recognize some good games, and get some announcements.
Yeah, a lot of announcements coming, I think. I mean, we've seen the hype around like, hey, this is actually the one. And it's also the 10th anniversary of the Game Awards. So, yeah. And also, Rick in the chat calls out what I was thinking. Shadow of the Erdtree, a not game, is up for Game of the Year. There are no rules, Kevin.
And Infinite Wealth isn't. It's we used to live in a society, all right? And now
Yeah,
we
man.
live here.
I mean, it's all just video games. We're just talking about video games, and
Yeah.
people take it very seriously because it's the internet. But hey, we're just all chatting about games. It's fine.
Some people take it a little too seriously.
Snoop Dogg's going to be there, so I mean, can't get that mad.
He's like hardcore Xbox. He's like top 1% Xbox users or something.
He is, yeah. He did that one thing where he like came back and he was like his stream was on for 10 hours or 12 hours or something, and he came back. He was like, "Oh shit," and he like turned off. Yeah, it was great. I really enjoy seeing his little gaming side of his life. It's like T-Pain almost, where it's like T-Pain, why are you on Twitch, man? And then he's just like killing it. He's crushing the game.
He was at the Macy Day parade.
He was.
Yeah, and my fiance's mom was like, "Oh, who's this? I never heard of them." I'm like, "You've never heard of T-Pain?" Like,
Yeah, that's
that
crazy.
can't be true.
Yeah, I enjoyed his post over the weekend of like, have you seen the memes with the Muppets of like the messed up? I forget what the messed up Muppet's name is, where he's got like the crazy hair.
Hold on. I have Gonzo.
Crazy. No hair
Oscar
Muppet.
Josh?
No, hold on. Dang, what's his name? No. I forget what his name is. Anyways, there's like this meme going around of like a little puppet guy. And he was like, I didn't know that Instagram had a DM request section. And then he was like, sorry, Rihanna and whoever, like they hit him up for collabs. And then he just didn't even realize he got a DM. So it was hilarious to see that. It was great.
Yo, that's hilarious.
T-Pain's cool. I like T-Pain. Not that I've met him, but he seems nice.
Seems nice, And then till the baby oil shows.
Yeah, it says when I realized IG DMs had a message request section. I'm sorry, Fergie. Forgive me, Viola Davis.
He's just been ignoring people for like 20 years.
Oh, that's hilarious. That is so good. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting hit up by Fergie, then dang, you've had it. That was in there for a hot second. That was sitting there.
Yeah, Fergie. She doesn't even make music anymore.
Like, dang, that's a long time.
All right. Well, I think we could end the show on that note. Everyone, thank you for watching along with us. Love the discussion in the chat. But Sam, I want to let everyone know where they can find you this holiday season.
Yeah, you can find me merrily over on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all those fun places, making videos, chatting about games. Threads has been popping. I've fallen off the Blue Sky. I just like there's too many platforms that feel the same, and I have Threads and people know me on Threads, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna stick here. So I've been hanging out over there. You might see me on the Sky. You're definitely not gonna see me on X. So have fun over there. Good luck with that. I'll be praying for you. Yeah. Well, and of course you can find me here on the various days that we record this show. Today, Tuesday. Who knows next week? But the holidays are coming, and the chaos ensues. We're going to make it happen.
Should be Thursdays, everyone listening. Should be Thursdays. We'll see. I don't think Christmas is Wednesday, so we'll see. I guess
I don't even know what day it is today. So yeah.
All right. Well, you can find me at the Muffin Mon on X or Blue Sky. I'm the exact opposite. The Threads ain't doing it for me. All right. I'm Blue Sky guy. All right. That's what you can find me over there. You can find us at Save the Game Media, also on Blue Sky, or Save Game Media on X. Stay up to date with all of our latest content. I put out a review today. No Limits also went live today. So if you're checking out this, please go check out one or both of those. Appreciate everyone checking out our other content. It does help the channel. Appreciate everyone. Join us Thursday, Game Awards live react, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here. Until then, we'll see you. Goodbye.